called in the SWAT team, who attempted contact with Greg for 7 exhausting hours.
Subject with a rifle holding 3 people hostage, has a semi-automatic with a lot of ammo.
Around 5:45 p.m., the SWAT team sent a bomb robot into the room where the dead bodies of the 3 women and shooter were discovered. The shooter carried a massive stash of bullets around his waist and neck. Deputy Lombardi fired a total of 13 bullets, while Greg fired 22 rounds from the .308 caliber rifle. The entire facility was placed on lockdown for several hours, while about 80 students from the local Justin Siena High School were on the property, at the theater specifically, rehearsing for a play. The students were on lockdown before being safely removed from the property.
Knocked on every door and said that we're in a lockdown because there's a shooter on campus.
A nearby golf course and other businesses that were close by were evacuated. Homes close to the campus were told to draw their blinds and windows and lock all doors.
Even if I seen or heard bullets flying, I still, I was infantry. I was stationed with the 75th Rangers, so I know a little bit about bullets flying over your head. And don't panic, because you panic, then you're in trouble.
Active shooter, reports of an active shooter,
mass casualty incidents.
Active shooter, reports of an active shooter,
mass casualty incidents.
The ensuing investigation proved that no shot from Deputy Lombardi struck any victim inside group room number 4124, and no shots from Greg hit the deputy. Evidence showed that immediately after the 10-second shootout between the 2 men, Greg killed the women and then himself. He never answered the SWAT team during the 7-hour standoff because he was dead the whole time. The women, an unborn child, were murdered about 12 minutes after Greg entered the home.
Shortly before 6 p.m. this evening, law enforcement personnel made entry into the room and unfortunately made the discovery of 3 deceased females and 1 deceased male suspect.
Around the scene, yellow crime scene tape was placed, which included Madison Hall and the parking lot. The California Highway Patrol, or CHP, officers were posted at each entrance to the building while a bomb-sniffing dog was brought in. It alerted on Greg's car, possibly after smelling the ammunition or gunpowder, but the car was ultimately declared safe with only a cell phone being found. Greg lived at a residence in Sacramento, and the SWAT team and ATF agents executed a search shortly after the standoff ended. Investigators marked anything that appeared to be evidence inside Greg's house. They collected a rifle bag and containers for ear and eye protection. Shoe print impressions around the rifle bag were documented. Almost immediately after the building was declared safe, flowers began to accumulate outside the veterans' home sign. The locals were devastated. The area was only just recovering from massive wildfires from the previous October, and now this tragedy. It was more than some could bear. 48-year-old Christine Labor was born on November 12, 1969. She was born in Boston but raised in Easton, Massachusetts, and graduated from Oliver Ames High School in 1987. Christine attended the University of New Hampshire, where she graduated with a bachelor's degree in communication. Her career began at the New England Sports Network, but she went on to work for Boston Healthcare for the homeless for about 5 years. During her time there, Christine was inspired, continuing her education and earning a master's degree in social work from Boston College in 2008. After obtaining her master's, Christine started working with veterans at the VA in Brockton, Massachusetts. Christine was a believer in mental health advocacy and sought alternative methods for coping with trauma. She attended the Kripalu Center, which she earned yoga teaching credentials, using that education to aid vets in dealing with trauma. Christine moved to California in 2013 and began working at the VA in Palo Alto for a brief period before going to work for the VA in Santa Rosa. In 2016, she was recruited to the executive director position at the Pathway Home, where she was passionate about teaching yoga both at the home and in the community. Christine was known for her love of movement, which included cycling, hiking, and running. An avid traveler, she was a huge fan of the Boston Red Sox and the New England Patriots. Those who knew her described Christine as someone who loved music, reading, and was a movie buff. She wore a constant, radiant smile and had a unique ability to make anyone around her feel special. Christine was truly devoted to her work with veterans and was committed to that career path. She is survived by her parents and a sister, and will be deeply missed. Dr. Jennifer Kolick was born on January 12, 1976 in Houston, Texas. When she was a year old, she and her family moved to Calistoga, California, where she graduated from high school in 1994. Known as Jen by most, those who were close, such as family and friends, called her Jiffy. After high school, Jen attended the University of California, Davis, where she earned a bachelor's degree in psychology. She then attended Sonoma State University, where she achieved a master's degree in counseling psychology. Unfinished with her education, Jen then enrolled in Akamai University in Hilo, Hawaii, where she earned a PhD in philosophy. 42 years old when she was murdered, Jen lived at St. Helena with her husband Mark and daughter McKenna. The couple would have celebrated 20 years together that summer. Jen was known as an intense listener and truly talented public speaker. She was passionate about traveling the country, speaking about the importance of adolescent mental health. Jen understood the importance of all-around good health, not just focusing on mental health, but physical health equally. An avid runner, she frequently participated in local races, including Tough Mudder events, and was a regular at the local CrossFit. She loved to challenge herself, but had nothing but love and compassion for those she loved, including her 3 dogs, Floyd, Hambone, and Ripley. Jen is survived by her husband and daughter, but also her mom, stepfather, brother, and stepsister. She joins her dad, Randy, and beloved dog Bo in heaven. 32-year-old Dr. Jennifer Gonzalez Shushareba was born on July 27, 1985. She grew up in Northern California with her parents and 3 brothers, graduating from Francis High School in the early 2000s. She spent a year abroad in Italy and managed to earn a bachelor's degree in psychology from Loyola Marymount University, all while adventuring around the globe and even climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. She continued her education and earned a Doctor of Psychology degree from the PGSP Stanford Consortium at Palo Alto University, and from there interned at the Iowa City VA Medical Center. Jennifer then finished her postdoctoral fellowship at the Santa Rosa VA Clinic, where her focus was on vets with PTSD. During her time there, Jennifer became a clinical coordinator of the VA Vital program at the Palo Alto VA, and from there, she became a clinical psychologist with the San Francisco VA Student Veterans Health Program. She helped provide care to post-9/11 vets at Napa Valley College and Pathway Home in Yountville. Jennifer loved to travel and had visited all 50 states before she turned 30 years old, which is no small feat. She enjoyed being outdoors and thoroughly appreciated the time spent outside, camping with family and friends. Jennifer was thoughtful and caring, making frequent visits to her grandmother, who had Alzheimer's. The two would play ukulele together, and the time spent was precious to Jennifer. Meeting her future husband TJ online in 2013, the couple married on March 18, 2017. A loving couple, they enjoyed cooking together and listening to music of all kinds. They were thrilled to be welcoming their first child, a daughter, whom they decided to call Cecilia Rose. Jennifer was due in June of 2018, and sadly, her unborn child perished alongside her. She will be missed greatly by all that knew and loved her. The Veterans Home in Yountville, California, is one of the largest in the United States, with beds for at least 1,100 men and women. The main function is helping veterans from World War II until present day. Opening in 2008, the Pathway Home was dedicated to providing services specifically for post-9/11 vets and is located on the Veterans Home campus. A beautiful Spanish-style building with the usual stucco walls and red roof tiles that are typical of Southern California. The Pathway Home was a highly regarded program that created a model which successfully aided soldiers and veterans with PTSD to rejoin civilian life. The program provided physical and mental health services, a community college, job training, and even help with gaining employment. About 450 vets had passed through the doors of the Pathway Home while it stood open. The Veterans Home is run by the State Department of Veterans Affairs.
Active shooter. Reports of an active shooter.
Active shooter, mass casualty incidents.
Active shooter. Reports of an active shooter.
Active shooter, mass casualty incidents.
36-year-old Greg was originally from Sacramento, California. A soft-spoken, quiet child, he grew up with a dark rage that lived inside him. When Greg was 8 years old, his dad died and Mom suffered from many health issues, which made it impossible for her to care for Greg. Family friends offered to take Greg in, and they eventually became his legal guardians, whom he lived with for about 4 years. The couple tried to get Greg involved with activities such as youth sports like track, baseball, and basketball, and enrolled him into a local Catholic elementary school located in San Bruno.
No. He was such a happy young man.
Greg went on family vacations with the couple to places like Hawaii, Florida, and Boston, where Greg witnessed snow for the first time ever. However, when Greg hit his teen years, he was placed into foster care, though research didn't provide the reason for this. Greg attended high school in Daly City near San Francisco and spent much of his teenage years with a foster father and 6 foster brothers. By most accounts, the boys seemed to get on just fine, playing hockey, baseball, and even fishing together. One of the foster brothers described Greg as having the occasional angry outburst. Things went too far once when Greg got mad and pushed one of his foster brothers down a flight of stairs, which caused the boy a broken leg. After that incident, Greg was sent away to live with another foster family. It seems Greg always wanted to join the military from a young age. He claimed to want to serve his country and eventually enlisted in the Army Reserve, serving from 1998 to 2002. During this time with the reserves, Greg did not work full-time in the service, yet he could have been deployed at any time, should the need arise. From May of 2010 to 2013, Greg was stationed in Hawaii, except for a brief time when he was deployed to Afghanistan. Those 3 years of service were active for Greg, and he was a full-time Army service member and did a tour in Afghanistan for 1 year between 2011 and 2012. During his time in the service, he received several awards, including a Good Conduct Medal, an Afghanistan Medal, an Army Commendation Medal, a NATO Medal, a Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, a Combat Infantryman Badge, and an Expert Marksmanship Badge. The latter badge is awarded in situations where a troop is given dangerous assignments as tasks to complete. In 2013, Greg moved back in with his former legal guardians for a brief period. The couple and Greg had stayed in touch online, and they were glad to offer Greg a stable place to stay. They would later comment that Greg saw terrible things while deployed, and those things changed him. After he was honorably discharged in 2013, Greg dreamt of going to college and earning a computer programming and business degree. He loved computers and felt it would be a good transition into civilian life along with the routine of working out. Greg was also very passionate about music, enjoying it anywhere he was. During his enlistment and after, Greg obtained a private investigator license, a security guard permit, and a firearm permit. In 2008, he received a license to work as a security guard, which allowed him a permit to carry a 9mm handgun. The license was suspended the October before the shooting. Yet no reason for the suspicion or cancellation was listed in the records. One thing Greg didn't hide, or keep secret, was active participation in services through the Veterans Home. His guardians were hopeful about his progress there, and despite his mental health treatment, the couple weren't surprised that Greg had a rifle, mostly because they knew he was trained with firearms and even had a license to carry one. They described Greg as a thoughtful gentleman who regularly visited his sick mother, bringing her favorite foods. She passed away about a year before the shooting, and while it's not known for certain, perhaps her passing coupled with his dismissal from the Pathway Home was the catalyst for his downward spiral. When Greg found out about the Pathway Home, he was instantly excited, telling his guardians, quote, "I think I'm going to get a lot of help from this program." And he needed help. When he returned from Afghanistan, Greg wasn't the same. He never smiled, and he started drinking rather heavily. He became almost obsessed whenever he had conflicts with a friend or family member. Further compounding his deterioration,